So look, if you want to grow your wealth, your income, and increase the amount of time off, then these are the shortcuts that can help. Welcome to the Wealth Creation Podcast.
In today's podcast episode, I wanted to talk about long-form video because this is something that we've realised has definitely made an impact both on our business and our clients' businesses, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But if you want evidence of this, if you think back to the Donald Trump election, and that he won, of course, allegedly, shall we say. I'm sure he did. But one of the things that he did was he went on a Joe Rogan podcast, and then he went on for like 3 or 4 hours. And I think the other person, Kamala Harris, she made a massive mistake because she said, no, I'm not going to go on his podcast show, because it was a long time for her to get on a plane, go all that way, spend 3 or 4 hours on that podcast show. And she actually couldn't see the benefit. And actually, it was a really big mistake. And Donald Trump did it. And bear in mind that Joe Rogan really is a Donald Trump-esque type character. He's spoken about that before, and some of his views are heading towards that side. So for Donald Trump, it was a no-brainer. He's going to speak to all of his, all the people that like him, including some that probably aren't sure, who he managed to persuade. Whereas Kamala Harris, whose followers probably don't follow Joe Rogan, she didn't go on it. And so Kamala Harris had this opportunity to go and speak to Donald Trump's supporters effectively. And she said, no, I'm not going to do that. She felt she was too important to the biggest podcaster on the planet. And I just think that's a mistake. It's not the 1970s or the 80s. It's not Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher anymore, or even the 90s or the noughties. We live in 2025, 2024 back then. And we live in this world now where the methodology in which we get our information has drastically changed. Like, I jump on Twitter and I find stuff on Twitter now that the mainstream news don't even cover because they're right wing or they're left wing or because it doesn't fit with their narrative. Whereas one of the things I like about Twitter is that you might see a UFO in the sky and film it, right, which nobody else covers, but you've got it because it's coming from a real person. And I think that's really important. And so we're getting this disparate news, really, this decentralized version of news. And you've got to go where people are consuming the news. And where is that? You've got to be where people are consuming the news. Where is it? It's YouTube, long form video on YouTube, including short form as well. Don't get me wrong here. You know, we go and do a lot of long form stuff, and out of that long form stuff, we also pull out our short form videos as well. But you have to go to the place where people are consuming news or consuming content. Where else do people consume that kind of stuff? Netflix is a great version of long form content. You're like, but Dan, how do I get on Netflix? How does anyone get on Netflix? You have a compelling story. We've watched some really interesting things recently on Netflix. One of them was, who's that Brian guy who's like, I think he's 48 and he wants to live forever. And he's getting blood transfusions with his son and his dad, which I think is a bit weird. But anyway, like he's got his own show on Netflix. And there's others, like, I don't know, I can't think of anybody offhand. But there are other people who've managed to get what they want to say and get onto Netflix. And so they've now got this massive Netflix audience. And then they get onto Spotify, or then they get onto Joe Rogan. A really good one is Graham Hancock, who does all the, the pre-civilization stuff, which I find really interesting. And I like the Silurian hypothesis, which is, 100 million years ago, did dinosaurs build space rockets and leave? Like, that's a wonderful hypothesis and open to interpretation. But anyway, Graham Hancock gets on TV and he gets on Joe Rogan, not just once, but several times. He's getting his message out to the masses. Now, this is the thing. It doesn't matter how you do it. Like, it kind of does. Like, don't go murdering people to get your message on TV. You will get your message on TV, but, you probably can't do that much with it. So definitely don't do that. But if you get an opportunity to be on somebody else's podcast show for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or for 10 minutes, you should definitely go and do that. If you get an opportunity to go and speak at an event, you should be going to do that. This is one to many. I can jump in a car. Not that I can do that because I live in Spain, but I can jump in a car. I can drive 40 minutes to a networking event. I can speak to different one person at a time at a networking event. Drive 45 minutes back. It's taken 2-3 hours. In that 2 or 3 hours, I can get 3 1-hour-long podcasts. Like we did a podcast live stream 2 days ago, and we got 1,000 people in total for that one live stream, and that's not including the shorts that we pull out. But I was live for like 38 minutes. And in that 38-minute period, I got to speak to 1,000 different people. Now, it's one-way traffic, but it's one to many. That's what you want. And then when they see something they like and they want to make contact with you, then they will make contact with you and reach out. But they can only do that if they've seen you. And you can't do that if all your messaging and all your communication is one-to-one speaking to people at networking events. Whereas doing something like this, now, I just want to caveat this because sometimes you might not get a lot of people watching your stuff. Totally fine. Totally fine. Like we generally don't get a lot of people watching our live streams because it's marketing and it's boring as anything, right? Maybe if we, Gary Vee had a great idea, which was to do 2 things at the same time, which was do a podcast show while training for an Ironman, or, record yourself while baking a flan or something, right? And I love that as an idea. God knows how you do that, but I love that as an idea. But the point here is that you've got to get your message out to as many people as possible. And that's what Donald Trump did. And that's why he's now president of the United States. Kamala Harris didn't. There's such a good opportunity. I don't know how many views or downloads Joe Rogan gets. Joe Rogan views podcast. Listeners, really, isn't it? I don't know if we can get stats here. Let's have a look. He's got 2,508 episodes, which is significant. And he peaked in 2019 with 221 episodes and 186 episodes. Now you think about the quality of the guests he's getting on. Like he covers all sorts. He's had everybody on. He's had Elon Musk and he's had Donald Trump. Like to arguably 2 of the most famous people on the planet. And then what happens is that because he's now interviewing these people, Joe Rogan and people who know Joe Rogan, that goes up. Joe Rogan got a special on Netflix. Why do you think Joe Rogan got a special on Netflix? Because of his podcast. Joe's average podcast is 2 hours, 38 minutes and 47 seconds. Listening to every single episode would take 277 days. That's non-stop. You could listen at twice the speed and cut it down. The longest one was 5 hours, 19 minutes. Like, that's amazing. I'm trying to find actual stats to see how many people, oh my goodness me. Well, I'll get on to how many people have watched it in a second. But Elon Musk had the most views with 69 million. 69 million people watched that episode. And people go, oh no, but long form video, it doesn't work. Next one was Bob Lazar and Jeremy Corbell. Bob Lazar is a big UFO dude who worked out with Area 51, if you believe him. Donald Trump, 54 million. Jordan Peterson, 40 million. I like Jordan Peterson. He's gone a bit whack, really, recently, and he comes out with some right old shite. But I like his motivation stuff. Edward Snowden, of course, who was the whistleblower. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's the physicist. Elon Musk, again, 34 million. Alex Jones, God help us, 33 million. Alex Jones and Tom Dillon, 27. And Graham Hancock, who I mentioned before, talks about pre-civilization, 27 million. The top 10 most watched episodes of Joe Rogan. Now, I get that we are not Joe Rogan, and I'll get onto that shortly. But the 10 most watched episodes got, if you add all those up, it's 410 million views. Why do you think Joe Rogan, folks, got himself a Netflix special? Yeah, of course, he's, Dana White, who was also on his show, who does all the, what's it called, not WWE, what's the other one? What's the other one? The fighting one, UFC, honestly. Like all of these people are all feeding off each other. You notice the network here, and it's like, where's your network? Where is your network for building this massive opportunity for content to reach as many people as possible? So, and I actually don't do interviews, and we are definitely missing a trick on not doing interviews. I just can't be bothered. I just don't have the patience to ask someone questions for 3 hours and sit there for 2 hours or an hour even. But actually, maybe we should, because really those interviews would get far more views, because then we're reaching other people's audiences. And if we actually did a podcast every single day where we interviewed different people every single day, we would reach so many more people than just the people we currently reach. So note to Dan here, we definitely need to do that. But those numbers are absolutely amazing. And yeah, I get that you and I, we are not Joe Rogan, and we don't really want to be Joe Rogan, thanks very much. But you got to start somewhere. And I was watching an interview with Joe Rogan about his podcast, actually, just a couple of days ago. And he was saying he had no idea about some of these numbers or some of the views that he was getting on his podcast show. He had no idea, didn't even know it was a thing. And then, of course, he sold up for, I don't know how many millions. But he got millions of dollars by selling up to go on Spotify. And then that deal ended and I was back on YouTube and so on. But I would argue that he doesn't just make his money off the podcasting, even though he's podcasting, he makes his money off the Netflix special, the commentating that he does for UFC, the fact that he can walk anywhere in the US and he's known, he's a media figure, arguably one of the most popular media figures. Like, who else is there? He's in the top 10, top 20. Like, who else have you got? I was thinking about this. We watch Beverly Hills Housewives, right? Such trashy TV and so toxic. Honestly, those women are just unbelievably toxic. That's why we watch it, right? But I was thinking, because they could literally walk into any cafe or restaurant in Beverly Hills or LA and people know instantly who they are. And, you know, sometimes it's infuriating because you get these people who don't seem to be all there, shall we say, quite toxic in the way that they see the world. Yeah, they make so much money, and it's just unbelievable to me that they make so much money. But that is long form content. Like, I'm talking about podcasting, and really that's what we're talking about. But can you get your own reality show? Like, okay, it didn't work out so well for Jordan, like the ex-model, I'm sure she's still a model, what she called Katie Price. She had her own TV show, but she was kind of off the trolley anyway, in the nicest possible way. But again, it's long form content. Big Brother, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. All these things are about you being in front of camera and being in front of as many people as possible. And what is going to happen here is you're going to either get people that like you or get people that hate you. And people go, yeah, but I don't care if you don't like me, because all these other people that do like me, they pay my electricity bills or they pay my housing bills or exotic holidays, and all this content that we make, people consume, and then they'll do business with us or they will buy something or whatever. I remember listening to Jordan. She was on Radio 1 with Chris Moyles, and she had a cushion in the shape of her face. And I won't go into the joke that came up because this is a daytime show, but it was quite funny, I thought. But she's selling merchandise, literally selling merch off Radio 1 on Chris Moyles' show. I just think that's amazing, right? And she does that because she's got your attention. And I was thinking again about the film Glengarry Glen Ross. If you've never seen that film and you're in sales, I don't know what you're doing. You need to go watch it. But there's a scene with Alec Baldwin, who I think he won an Oscar for it, and is in it for like 10 minutes, right? And I just lost my train of thought because that film sends me off in all sorts of directions. This film was such a good film. I know what it was. It was AIDA, attention, interest, decision, and then whatever the other way is. And he had a pair of brass balls as well, which he holds, gets his brass balls out. Coffee is for closures, people who can close business. And he was saying, attention, and he slams the desk. First, you have to get their attention, right? What do you think this is? All the shorts that we do, all the podcasts that we do, all the long-form video content that we do is getting people's attention. Like, forget about whether people like you or dislike you. They don't know you, right? Like, it's irrelevant whether they like you or dislike you. Honestly, I was going to quote David Goggins. Motherfucker, they don't know you. True, but they don't know who you are. People don't know who I am. You need to get people to know who you are, and there are various ways of doing it. You could do a hand gesture, which might get you quite popular on Twitter, or not. But there's different ways of doing it, and this is the thing: is that people can't buy from you if they don't know who you are. They also won't buy from you if they do know who you are and they don't like you. And here's the paradox. you can't get everybody to like you. And this is where you shouldn't be getting everybody to like you. You should be splitting people in two. You motherfucker, you piss off. That's fine. I don't need you. You, brilliant. Yeah, let's go have a pint. Whatever that happens to be, right? People will buy from people that they know, they like, and they trust. And if people don't know you, people don't like you, and people don't trust you, there's no way that they'll buy from you. But from being you, and again, let's just assume, right, that this is correct, that let's just assume, I was going to say 50-50, but it's not 50-50. I just want to have a different assumption. Let's assume it's 20-80. 20 people don't like you out of 100. And the other 80%, they love you or they like you in some way. They don't dislike you, put it that way. I will go with that all along. But you know what happens? I don't even think it's as bad as that. I think 5% probably don't like you. I think it's probably 1% don't like you. 99% don't care either way. A proportion of those 99% will love you, whatever you do, right? And the others are just not even thinking about it. And what happens is when we go live and when we get these comments, we get the 1% and 0.01% of people who leave awful comments and just aren't very nice. And so we go, oh no, I'm not going to do this anymore because this person, Gary Vee would say, Sally Flower 349 said something nasty, so I'm never going to go live streaming again. Utter bullshit. But Sally, whatever I said, 349, is never going to buy from you anyway. The other 99.9%, you've got an opportunity that they might buy from you. But you're ruining that because you're feeling insecure because some wanker who literally just opened an account to abuse you. We had one last week. We did a video last week, and he put gay, which I thought was quite funny, really, to be honest. And I said, well, you'd know all about that, wouldn't you? Why not come out? It's 2025. The world loves gay people these days, so you should come out. Anyway, he's not replied. I'm looking forward to them replying. But this is what happens. People are going to say awful things, right? And so you end up not doing stuff because you're worried about, someone saying something awful. People are awful. I don't know how to say it. It is the reality. And people are anonymously awful because you never get someone saying something nasty to you if you could go give them a punch in the face, would you? Like they would, they never say it to your face because if someone came up to me, like if someone came up to me and called me gay, I'm like, fair enough, I don't care. That really doesn't offend me. But if someone said something about my kids or my wife or something else, like, yeah, I'd punch them in the face. Why would I not do that? But that never happens, right? Because they're hiding behind a keyboard, little keyboard warriors. Anyway, so why is long form going to do so well in 2025 and why should you be doing it? So a couple of reasons. And I've got some notes over here on this screen because I forget and I go off on tangents, as you're probably aware. So YouTube want you on their platform for longer because, how does YouTube make money? Well, they've got their ads on YouTube. And often when I'm eating, I actually eat at my desk and I'll stick a YouTube video on and I watch it. And then I get a couple of adverts during whatever it is. And it's usually some CrossFit technique that I'm trying to learn because I've got a competition next week. But YouTube want me on their platform for as long as possible. And then they're going to serve me ads. And if you think about all these other streaming platforms or content platforms, they're all selling adverts. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they're all selling. Why do you think they want you on there? And this is why they want people there longer for more long-form content. Because if you can get someone to watch a Joe Rogan podcast for 5 hours, 46 minutes, non-stop, then that's awesome for YouTube. They make a lot of revenue. And also Joe Rogan's going to make some decent revenue. What was it? 410 million views on his top 10 podcasts. Which is amazing. How much revenue do you think he made off 410 million views? I'm just trying to see if we can see his top number of viewers. Because that was just his top 10, right? Like, that's amazing. A total length of all of them is 6,637 hours. I have no idea how much that compute, but we're talking millions of dollars here, right? Why do you think YouTube want to on their platform all the time? Because they're making all this money on ads. Now, why do you want to be on YouTube's platform? Because, maybe you can make some money off ads as well, but also we actually don't make money off ads off YouTube, right? We can be monetized, but we're not monetized. So how do we make money off live streaming on YouTube or uploading all the content? Because we sell digital services to influencers and people running their small businesses who need a new website and need a landing page and need some Facebook ads and need some Google ads. That's how we make our money. And again, we go back to people can't buy from you if they actually don't know who you are. So the longer that we're live, the longer that we're on some form of content that's going out on multiple formats. So like right now we're live on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. And I think that's it actually. And then we'll pull out all the short videos and they go out then onto TikTok and Instagram and Twitter as well. And then we have lots of images and lots of long form content. And so people eventually, they go through the sales funnel and they buy from us because they like who we are. They like what we talk about. And they like some of my dreadful jokes. So YouTube, we want you there for longer, not just YouTube, but all the other channels want you there for longer as well. Second one then is that TikTok, interestingly, and Instagram are testing longer form videos now. So TikTok, you can now have a 10-minute video and you can also live stream on TikTok. And one of the things I thought was really interesting on TikTok was people selling stuff. Like, for example, I've got a cup here. This is an ice mug. So it's a double wall mug with liquid around it, which is pink, and you put it in the freezer and then you pour your drink in it and it keeps you, instead of ice, it keeps your drink cold. You can sell these on TikTok. So I could do a TikTok thing about it, click the link, people can go buy them. Like, you can do that. People are making money doing that right now on TikTok. And you can live stream on TikTok. I don't know how long the live stream duration is on TikTok. Live stream length, TikToks, find out. But 60-minute streaming limit, that's fine. So you live stream for 59 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, and you live stream again. And what happens is, if you live stream, I was just looking for my phone there, and I realised I'm actually filming on it. But if you go on a TikTok live stream, and start scrolling through some of his live streams, 246 viewers, 10 viewers, 3,000 viewers, 200 viewers. I saw a guy live streaming. He was driving from one place to somewhere else, and it was at night, and he had his lights on the road, and he was filming from his truck, and that was the live stream. Okay, different to what we're going to do, obviously. He had like 235 people watching that. Unbelievable, right? People watch any old stuff. And if people watch any old stuff, people will watch your stuff, and they'll watch my stuff as well. So get yourself on TikTok and get yourself live streaming. And Instagram are also testing longer form videos as well. Number 3, then, there is a demand for more of a deep dive. So if you're going to go into how to use Canva and you're screen sharing Canva, and you're showing someone how to make YouTube thumbnails, and that takes an hour, then people want to know how to do that, and people will deep dive into that type of content. There's also educational content, which is what that is, and then there's also fun content. I like to test these things, and I was on YouTube and I looked up some of the live stuff, and I was in Spain, right, so it was all Spanish. And then there's a guy going into a haunted house, and he's live streaming it, and like, I don't know how they make that last for an hour, but they managed to make it last for an hour. Do you hear that noise? Running away, bad lighting, there's something down there. Oh, no, crazy stuff, right? There's nothing down there. There's a TV program, it drives me insane. It's like, we're looking for Bigfoot. We've got heat-seeking thermal cameras. Oh my gosh, there's something there. Oh, and it's like a badger. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's got a heat signature and we don't know what it was. So it must be Bigfoot. Do you know? It must be Bigfoot. Like, no, dude, it was like a badger. It's a badger. It's tiny. Look at it. It's a bat. It's a rat. It's a cat. It's a dog. It's a horse with a hat on. Like, it could be anything. Anyway, fun content is what I'm getting at. You could live stream all that. People are making money off this kind of thing. And again, we're in business and our job is to sell what we do and our services and all of that kind of thing. So that's not a thing that we could go down in terms of that particular path. But like going like this, we're going for 24 minutes. Is this a deep dive into long form video and why you should be doing it? Of course. And are we also coming up with different ideas and giving people examples of what other people are doing? Of course. Is there use in that? Of course. And then, not to forget that we will then pull out all the short videos of this and then we'll repurpose those and put those out there. So people who didn't watch the entire live stream, they can get the little snippets. Hopefully they'll like us, they'll subscribe and they'll like our content and so on. And then eventually they get to know us, they download the podcast, they see what we do, they download the Facebook ads guide, whatever, right? That's how it works. And then number 4, there's an increased methodology in monetization right now. So, for example, one of our clients is a sheep shearer. And I actually don't talk about this client anywhere near enough because it's so interesting. Like literally millions of views shearing sheep. And you're like, that's amazing. And he runs training courses on how to shear sheep. And he also has a Patreon, and you can sign up for that. It's £10 a month, whatever it is. I always say it's like OnlyFans, and it's not OnlyFans. Or it could be if it's shearing sheep. I don't know. Whatever your thing is, I suppose. But Patreon and OnlyFans is basically the same thing, except nobody gets naked. Probably, kind of. But Patreon, very interesting. Obviously, you've got Google pay-per-click, when people are doing that, and you can put that on your website as well. And then obviously you've got YouTube ads, which is Google as well. Anyway, by the way, it's the same thing as Google pay-per-click. And then so you can monetize that way. But the Patreon, you can monetize. You can do YouTube ads and get monetization that way. You can sell your training courses, get paid that way. You can have a monthly subscription of £10 a month. Like you could literally run your own Patreon or OnlyFans, and I only say OnlyFans because people get the subscription model, right? But we've toyed with it with our training courses. Instead of £27 and £57 and £97, how about we just do a $9.99 subscription, like Netflix, like the Netflix model or OnlyFans? Why don't we do a $9.95 model, subscription model, and just continually create new training courses, like one a month, and people just keep paying their $9.99 a month. That's where we're headed. Adobe used to cost £600, for the software. Now it's like £50 a month. We pay £50 a month and we get access to all the software. That's still £600. But now they get that every single month. So now they've got much more reliable cash flow instead of it going up and down every single month. Now they have much more reliable cash flow because there's 100,000 people paying £50 a month. I don't know what that is. 5 million a month. That's not bad. And it's reliable. Yeah, you're going to get people that leave and you're going to get people that come, but eventually it's, it just kind of balances out. Like, is that a way for you to really generate more cash? And if that is the way that you can generate more cash, what would that model look like? So, for example, we've got training courses, and actually one of the things I should have done this month is create an NLP and sales training. Just not had time because we've been so busy on other things. And it feels like day 500, doesn't it, of January? It's only the 30th right now. But, oh my gosh, just life is... January takes so long, doesn't it? But what is the model that you can use to monetize your content or monetize what you do? Can you go live streaming like the sheep shaver? He makes money off Facebook. He makes money off YouTube, Patreon. He sells things. He's got his own training courses. What a wonderful way of generating cash flow. And then we've got other clients that pay a subscription fee. In fact, let me tell you about a client that's not our client, but somebody I heard of. And he runs a boiler company. And I think he charges like £25 a month. It's dollars, right? Because he's American. But he charges $25 a month. And he had like 1,000 people sign up. $25,000 every single month, and they get priority. And they get discounts. And that's amazing. Like, what a wonderful subscription model that is. And again, doesn't have to take his clothes off. So that's really good. Maybe he'd make more money if he took his clothes off as a plumber on whatever platform. But this is for you to work out, where should you be placing your long form content? And everywhere is the answer. What can you talk about with your long form content? And either you already know that, and if you don't know that, then go to ChatGPT and that will help you. But right now we've got this opportunity, and I think this is the thing with opportunities. They don't last forever. They last for a brief period of time, and then, in 6 months or a year, there's something else. And a year after that, there's something else. And a year after that, there's something else. And you've got to move with the times. And it's tiring having to keep up with all the latest stuff. And I get all of that. But what's more tiring is not generating cash and not having enough money to pay your bills and wondering where the next customer's going to come from. And I talked about this, about people, if they start the business and they get the hat stand and the water cooler and a nice desk. Oh, it's a standing desk and a treadmill. And, they go on about and a coffee machine and all this stuff, right? And I'm like, dude, have you phoned any customers yet? No. Have you generated any revenue yet? No. How about you stop buying load of stuff and you get out and speak to some goddamn customers, bring some cash in, use that cash to buy the stuff. Don't buy anything till you brought cash in. Oh, well, you don't understand. I have to be in the right frame of mind. And I can hear David Goggins. No, motherfucker. Just get out there. Start making contacts. Start making content. Start putting call to actions. And by the way, our call to action is, if you want to jump on a strategy call with me, then you should jump on a strategy call with me. And we'll talk about how we can do what we do for all our other clients with you as well. That's our call to action. But you should be out putting content out as much as possible to get in front of as many people as possible, so that people will get to know you, they get to like you, and they get to trust you. Right. I hope you found that useful. Thanks ever so much for listening. Thank you for watching as well if you watch live. And please like and subscribe. And if you want to give us some feedback, you want to have a chat with us, then come and find us. We're all over social media. It's not like we're hiding anywhere. And we'll speak to you on the next one.
Hey, it's Dan here. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Please click like or subscribe to the entire podcast.